They say the most valuable treasure of humankind lies between a man's legs. She came to verify that, and nearly got herself killed. The Nexus station pulsed like a beating heart at the edge of interstellar civilization. A warren of glowing corridors, shifting languages, and deals whispered over drinks that tasted of rust and starlight. In the southern wing, past the freighter bays and merchant decks, a bar known simply as the Core buzzed with life, the kind of place where credits changed hands as easily as lies. Kayla Taranis sat alone at the far end of the counter, her purple skin catching the flickering neon like polished amethyst. She stirred her drink without looking up, senses spread like a net across the room. Laughter rose, bodies moved, but her attention honed in on one man. Elias Ward. He stood tall among his delegation, a clean-cut human security officer, late 20s at most. Sun-warmed skin, sandy hair a little unkempt, eyes sharp and watchful. Even in casual dress, he moved with military precision, like he was scanning for snipers between sips of cheap synthehol. Kayla smirked. Most humans she'd met were eager, impulsive, easy to read. Elias? He moved like he knew someone was watching. She adjusted her posture, crossed one leg over the other, tilted her head just enough to let the light kiss the edge of her jawline. Then she stood, glass in hand, and made her approach. First time on Nexus? She asked, her voice velvet over ice. Elias turned. For a second, just a flicker, his eyes widened just enough to confirm what she already knew. Her appearance was exotic even by Galactic standards. Luminous turquoise eyes, long silver-laced braids, curves like deliberate sculpture wrapped in tight tactical fabric. That obvious, he said, flashing a half-smile. You have the look of someone trying not to be impressed, she replied. It's charming. He chuckled, nodding to the bartender for a refill. And you? Larathai, right? What brings you to a station full of smugglers and corporate scum? She leaned against the counter beside him. Cultural consulting. I help newcomers not accidentally insult 10 species in 5 minutes. That sounds made up. It pays well. They traded words like fencing partners. Kayla kept the tone light. Her touch measured the occasional brush of her fingers on his forearm, the carefully timed laugh. But he didn't lean in. Didn't mirror her movements. And when she offered to toast, he eyed her glass and said, I don't drink from strangers. Kayla froze for a breath. Then smiled. Smart. Occupational hazard. I read faces for a living. He took a careful sip from his own bottle instead. Her plan frayed around the edges. The sedative-laced drink sat untouched in her hand. She'd expected a simpler mark. One seduction, one sample, one payday. But Elias Ward wasn't playing by the usual rules. So, he said, turning slightly to face her. You really came all the way to Nexus just to help diplomats avoid hand gestures that start wars. Kayla opened her mouth, closed it, then shrugged. Some contracts are stranger than others. Right. He studied her with a gaze that felt like a scan. Then, casually, you know, you don't move like a consultant. She blinked. No. You move like someone waiting for a target to drop their guard. A silence hung between them. A hum of neon, clinking glasses, and a sudden awareness that this man, this human, had seen more than she intended. Then he leaned in, not close, just enough. "You're not a cultural consultant, are you? So tell me, what exactly did you come here for?" She hated hesitation. It made things messy, slow, dangerous. But as she lay in her bunk that night, eyes open in the dark, Kayla Taranese realized one thing: she had hesitated. And now, the mission was already off script. Elias Ward had seen through her at least partly. The questions, the tone, the calculated distance he kept. He hadn't swallowed her story, not completely. That made him a problem. But also, something else. She rolled onto her side, staring at the wall's soft pulse of ambient light. Her wrist device blinked one unread message. She ignored it. Instead, she pulled up Elias's dossier again. Former planetary security, high marks in behavioral threat analysis, promoted quickly, 0 infractions. Loyal. Observant. The kind of man who followed rules, unless he had a reason not to. She needed a new approach. The next morning, she found him on the observation deck, standing alone near the edge of the glass dome that overlooked the starfield. He didn't turn when she approached, only said, "Still not drinking anything you offer?" She smirked. "That's fair. I'm here unarmed." Relatively. He glanced sideways. "That's supposed to make me feel safer?" "No," she said, stepping up beside him. "Just makes me feel honest." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the slow rotation of distant galaxies beyond the glass. Then she spoke, her tone lighter. "Back on Lareth, my people say that every lie must contain at least one truth. Otherwise, it won't stick. That's supposed to be a confession. More of a cultural insight. I am Larethai, after all." He turned to face her fully. "So what truth was in yours?" She let the silence stretch. "Then, I've studied humans. Not extensively, but enough to know you're unpredictable. Curious. Fragile in all the wrong ways and resilient in ways that terrify my kind. I'm interested in that. I want to understand it better." Elias tilted his head. "That actually sounds like a real answer." "Maybe it is." He studied her, but the suspicion hadn't vanished. It just settled deeper. Later, over synth coffee in a quieter lounge, their conversation turned toward culture. Kayla leaned into her cover story, weaving half-truths and invented customs about Larethai society, neural bonding ceremonies, sound-based memory archives, rites of scent exchange. Elias listened, amused, sometimes skeptical. "You're good at this," he said at one point. "At what?" "Telling stories." She smiled. "You think I'm lying?" "I think you're not telling the whole truth. But you believe parts of it. That's what makes it work." That same night, she received a transmission. Private. Encrypted. From a contact within the underworld network of Nexus Station. Her contact's voice trembled slightly in the audio-only message. "The Genesis Initiative isn't just collecting. They are synthesizing. using the samples to engineer a sterility vector. Human males. Delayed effect compound. You weren't supposed to know. Ilridge lied to you. You deliver that sample, and you help wipe them out. Her stomach dropped. This was no longer a matter of questionable ethics or buyer anonymity. This was biological warfare. Preemptive sterilization. A slow genocide that left no scars. She sat frozen in the dark, the message repeating in her mind. The vial in her pack felt heavier now. Not a paycheck. A weapon. Was Elias just a target? A mark? Or was he something else? The next morning, Elias found her first. He approached while she was seated in a quiet corner of the lower promenade, sipping something bitter she didn't really taste. "You look different," he said. "Worse. Quieter. That's not usually good." She gave him a look. He held her gaze. "I've been asking around," he said. "Dangerous habit. 2 of my team reported odd interactions with women they don't remember clearly. 1 even blacked out for hours. No clear memory of what happened." Kayla said nothing. "That's the pattern, isn't it? You or someone like you gets close, extracts something, and vanishes." She exhaled slowly. "Sounds like a conspiracy theory. Or a security report in progress. Depends on the outcome." She looked down. Her fingers were curled tight around her cup. He noticed. And then he asked, quietly, "If you're not here to hurt me, why do you always hide your hands when we talk?" The lights in her room were dim, golden with a flicker of artificial warmth, casting long, soft shadows across the floor. Kayla stood near the bed, unzipping the outer layer of her suit, moving slowly, deliberately, like someone navigating a ritual she no longer trusted. Elias sat on the edge of the low bed, elbows on his knees, watching her. His shirt was unbuttoned, his hair slightly mussed, his face unreadable. There was silence between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was charged. Fragile. The kind of silence that could shatter into 1,000 truths if anyone dared to speak first. She finally did. "You know, I didn't expect you to come." Elias looked up, eyes steady. "Neither did I." She crossed the room, her movements no longer calculated but hesitant in a way that surprised even her. Sitting beside him, she let her shoulder brush his. Not bait. Not manipulation. Just contact. "You're not like most humans I've met," she murmured. "You say that like it's a good thing. I don't know what it is." They said that way for a while. Quiet. Breathing in sync. His hand found hers, fingers brushing knuckles, not gripping. An invitation, not a demand. She turned her palm to meet his. And for the first time since she'd arrived on Nexus, Kayla Taranese allowed herself to feel instead of calculate. Later, with the lights dimmed further and warmth lingering on skin, she watched him sleep. His face was relaxed, free of the constant vigilance he wore in public. She should have felt triumph. The mission, technically, was complete. She hadn't used sedatives. No coercion. Elias had come to her willingly. But her chest was tight. Not with satisfaction. with something else. She rose silently, walked to the table across the room, and picked up the small collection unit. Thumbprint access, active and humming. It blinked green. She hated the sound it made. Sliding open the sample chamber, she locked the seal. The vial filled slowly, glowing faintly with the fluid that had brought her across sectors. The treasure. The commodity. The weapon. She turned toward the bed. Elias was awake. Sitting up. Watching. Her breath caught. He didn't yell. Didn't rush her. He just spoke, low and sharp. "What the hell is that?" Kayla froze. "Elias. Answer me." She closed the chamber. Turned fully. Held the unit in both hands. "It's a sample collector. Biogenetic extraction." His jaw clenched. "You took that from me? I didn't drug you. You came willingly. I didn't consent to being harvested." His voice cracked the air like a whip. Kayla took a step forward. "I wasn't going to hurt you. You already did." He stood. Taller than she remembered. Shadows cut across his face. "You think because I said yes to being with you that it meant yes to that? You think that's how we work? I didn't. If you really wanted to understand humans," he snapped, "then know this, we call that rape by deception." Kayla recoiled. The word hit her like a blade. "I didn't mean for it to happen like that. I wasn't supposed to care." He looked at her, disgust and pain etched in every line of his face. "That's supposed to make it better?" She shook her head, throat tight. "You were a mission. That's how it started. I didn't know it would feel like this." He didn't reply. The silence this time wasn't charged. It was hollow. Final. Kayla placed a device on the table. Her hands trembled as she pulled her coat over her shoulders. The sample, still sealed, blinked from the tabletop. She didn't take it. At the door, she turned one last time. Elias hadn't moved. "I broke protocol. I lied. But I didn't fake what happened between us." He didn't even look up. She left. And for the first time since taking a contract, Kayla Taranese walked away without completing it. Not because she failed. Because she couldn't live with succeeding. The message came at dawn cycle, silent and urgent. A red icon pulsed on Kayla's wrist device as she sat in the shadow of a transit column, her coat pulled tight against the artificial chill of the station. She knew who it was before she read it. Deliver the sample. Immediately. Genesis had what they needed except Elias. Her sample was the final key. She stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it. She needed answers. Dorn was easy enough to find if you knew where not to look. The Tilaxan infobroker slithered out from behind a stack of broken crates in the subdocks, translucent skin flickering with unease. "You're late," he rasped through a translator unit. "And your glowing panic." "I need intel on Genesis," she said. His membranes flickered. "That'll cost you." She threw him a chip. "Double the usual rate." "They are not just collecting samples," he said. "They are refining. a dispersible bioagent. Gas form. Sterilization compound. Targets human Y chromosome expressions. Temporary, maybe. Maybe not. No one's tested it long enough. Kayla felt her stomach twist. Mass distribution. One station, one missed cycle. Boom. Generation lost. She left without a word. Elias found her first. She didn't expect it. He stood in the corridor outside her quarters, hands in his jacket pockets, jaw tight. Their eyes met. Neither moved. "You still have it?" he asked. Kayla nodded. He exhaled. "You planning to hand it over?" "No." Something eased behind his eyes, just a flicker. "Then we need to move. Fast." They didn't talk about the night. Or the betrayal. They didn't apologize. There wasn't time. He showed her a report. 2 human officers missing. Both last seen entering unauthorized zones. Rumors of memory gaps. No investigation filed. They put the pieces together fast. A stolen access badge. A hijacked maintenance path. A blind spot in station cameras. The Genesis data hub was buried in a secured module near the lower reactors, shielded, encrypted, and guarded by drones. They moved like old partners. Elias cleared the perimeter, disabling the proximity alerts. Kayla sliced the biometric locks, her fingers steady. They slipped inside. Holograms flickered to life across the dark room. Genetic maps, test data, projection models. She accessed the archives, decrypted the core. What they found was worse than either expected. Video logs of unwilling extractions. Test subjects restrained. Field agents with orders to seduce, drug, replicate. Projected impact, 98% sterility among active male humans within 5 years. Elias swore under his breath. Kayla uploaded the files to a hard link node. "Can you transmit this?" "From the diplomatic channel," he said. Encrypted line. "It'll reach Earth, the Galactic Council, and press outlets all at once." They turned to leave. The lights snapped on. At the doorway stood Ulrich, flanked by 2 armed guards in matte black armor. His robe shimmered, and his face wore no surprise. "Disappointing, Mr. Unease," he said. Elias raised his weapon. Kayla didn't move. "We had a contract." "You lied about what the sample was for?" "Details," Ulrich said with a shrug. "This is bigger than your little romance. Bigger than one human." He stepped closer. The guards raised their weapons. "You could have had wealth. Obscurity. Now you're a liability." Elias cocked the weapon. "Back off." Ulrich ignored him. His gaze stayed on Kayla. "You think you can fall in love with one of them and save them all?" he asked. "You might love a human. But 1,000 species? They won't?" He smiled coldly. "And when the council sees what we're building, it won't matter if your hands are clean. It'll already be in the air." Blaster fire lit the corridor like stuttering lightning. The hum of energy weapons echoed off the steel walls, pulsing with chaos. Kayla moved first, sliding across the floor, kicking one of the guard's legs out from under him while Elias opened fire in short, controlled bursts. 2 Genesis soldiers fell. The third ducked behind a console, returning fire. Elias took cover beside a column, Kayla rolling beside him. Her breath came fast. His face was streaked with smoke and sweat. "They are not stalling," he muttered. "They are trying to hold us until backup arrives." Kayla nodded once, then stood. Before Elias could stop her, she stepped into the open, raised the vial Ilrich had wanted so badly and crushed it in her fist. The glass shattered. The sample, glowing faintly, splashed down her forearm and onto the floor. Ilrich watched from the end of the corridor, his expression unreadable. "You're insane," he said. "No," Kayla replied. "I'm free." Elias fired another shot, catching the last guard in the leg. He dropped. The hallway fell silent, filled only with the sound of shorting sparks and shallow breathing. "Transmission's out," Elias said, checking his pad. "It's done." Kayla nodded. She didn't look at him. "Not yet." Moments later, the unmistakable hiss of station clamps unlocking echoed through the hall. Blue armored peacekeepers of the Galactic Council swept in, weapons drawn, insignias glowing. Ilrich raised his hands, sneering. "You fools," he muttered. "You think they'll protect you now? The rest of the initiative will." A stun bolt caught him in the chest before he could finish. He dropped like a stone. The other Genesis operatives surrendered without resistance. One by one, they were dragged away. Kayla stood in the wreckage, hands still bleeding from the shattered vial. Elias looked at her, silent, and said nothing. She had destroyed the only proof of her original betrayal. And that, maybe, was what saved her. Weeks later, the sun over Earth was softer than she remembered. She stood in a quiet office overlooking a grassy quad, her new uniform unfamiliar against her skin. Not tight like armor. Loose. Civilian. She was still adjusting. The knock on her door was light. Familiar. She didn't turn. "Come in." Elias stepped inside, holding a slim data pad. He looked like he'd just stepped off a shuttle boot's dusty jacket unzipped. The same calm in his eyes. The same weight. "They cleared you," he said. Kayla exhaled. Surprised. "No. You made your choice. It counted." He handed her the pad. On the screen was a formal document, a diplomatic offer. Advisory position. Interspecies ethics. Oversight on xenobiological research involving human DNA. "They want you to help build the rules," Elias said. She stared at the screen, then laughed softly. "I used to steal this stuff, you know. Biological code. Now you want me to police it." Elias shrugged. "Call it poetic justice. Or just justice." She turned to him fully. Her face was calmer now. "No masks. I was a thief, Elias. I sold essence, samples, genome strands. I didn't care who bought them. Now they want me to draw the line between science and genocide." He stepped closer. "You've already drawn it. In blood. Yours." And mine. They stood close again. Like before. But not the same. You sure this isn't just some Terran guild trip diplomacy? Maybe, Elias said. Or maybe we need someone who knows how far it can go. Who's been to that edge? Kayla stared down at the screen. Then smiled. You humans. Always turning enemies into employees. He grinned. Better than turning them into statistics. She touched the pad, accepted the offer. Then looked back at him. I used to steal the essence of humanity. Now I'm being asked to protect it. He tilted his head. Are you complaining? No, I think. I'm finally where I'm supposed to be. Outside the window, the sun climbed higher. Somewhere in orbit, the wreckage of Genesis still floated. Evidence. History. Warning. But down here, in this quiet office, a former thief and a former target had just rewritten their future. Together.